to look back on what has been another fine day for England. I'm going to head straight over to Jonathan Agnew, who's got Michael Vaughan with him.
Indeed, thanks Dan, very much indeed. Disappointing, all of that, isn't it? But it's worth mentioning there's no floodlights, of course, at Gaul. It's a heritage site, and so once you start to lose the light, it gets cloudy this sort of time in the afternoon. You really are rather up against it. So that's a shame. We will start early tomorrow, 15 minutes early, I think, which means that the first ball will be at 4:15 our time, and you can extend also by 15 minutes towards the end, if we can get there. So another long day for England in prospect tomorrow, which to really put themselves into this winning position that feels they're almost in now already. They lead by 185, and they're closing at 320 for 4 with Joe Root, who pledged before this match to lead from the front in 2021. He's 168 not out. He's done exactly that. He's hit 12 fours, played beautifully. He's a very fine player of spin bowling. Of course, he lost Bairstow in the second over of the morning without adding to his 47. That was a stand of 114. Then he was caught in the gully off Ebeldinha, the left arm spinner. In comes Dan Lawrence for his first test innings, off the mark to the first ball. Russell pushed through the covers. He hit a 6 fairly early on as well. He looked very composed, looked very easy, looked as if he belonged, I must say, and played some handsome strokes. One through the covers, I remember, off Hazaranga, the leg spinner. There's a lot of sort of Kevin Peterson-like bottom hand in there too. So he made 73, got a ball that spat at him and took the glove. He was caught at short leg off the off spinner Pereira for 73. Joss Butler was 7 not out at the close. So 320 for 4, the lead 185. Michael Vaughan is there. I can see him on the screen. Disappointing to lose the time, Michael, but even so, I mean, England they've pushed on well.
Yeah, they've played really well, and they've got enough already, I think. I mean, they'll bat them tomorrow, no question. Joe Root will be fancying a big double, as he should. Joss Butler will fancy a few runs, Sam Curran, but no, England have just dominated a Sri Lankan team that have been very, very poor. They've tried with the ball in hand. The left-arm spinner Ebeldinha has been good at times, but he's a young, inexperienced spinner. I think England, and particularly Joe Root, know that you can hang in there for 2 or 3 decent balls, knowing that a short one will come or a full one. He swept the ball brilliantly today, Joe Root. He sweeps. He gets right forward to those full of length deliveries. As soon as it's slightly short, the pitch is so slow, he gets right back to cut the ball or work it on the onside against the off spinner. Very busy. I think he must be a brilliant player to bat with, because he's always rotating the strike, so you as a non-striker is always getting the opportunity to get down the striking end as well. And I thought the partnership with Johnny Bairstow was very good. Unfortunate for Johnny not to add to his overnight score, but he got a pretty good ball first thing in the morning. And Dan Lawrence, you can only judge a player on what you see and not always look at the opposing team. And playing Test match cricket, doesn't matter who you play, there's pressure, and it's a different level of pressure to what you find in county cricket, and he's passed that with flying colours. And his father, Aggers, Mark, he's given you the interview of the... I know we're only short a few days into January, but he's given me the interview of the year for me. That was magnificent.
Great character, but hopefully you'll hear it later. He didn't actually know he was on the air, I don't think, so it was brilliant. It was the highlight, one of the highlights of the day. Anyway, Andy Zoltan, I think hopefully speaking to Root shortly, just statistically, can you just put Root's 168 into perspective for us?
Yes, it's his 18th Test century in all. We've talked quite a lot about his recent form, and it's not been catastrophic, but he's failed to go on from promising starts, and since that double hundred in New Zealand, which was something of an exception to his recent form, he's batted at least 30 balls, reached double figures in every innings that he's played, but failed to go on beyond 70. So this is a welcome return to large scoring form. It's only his second first innings century in his last 40 tests, and in his first 58 tests he had 12 first innings hundreds. So he used to have this amazing record in first innings, and also in the first innings of series, as we talked about yesterday, up to the summer of 2017, had this extraordinary record, averaging over 100 in the first innings of series. He'd scored 6 centuries, 3 other scores over 80 in 13 innings. Since then, averaging low 20s with no centuries in the 12 series that England played before this in his first innings of the series. So to get 168 in the first innings, back to that old Joe Root of stamping his authority on a series early on. If he gets 10 more runs tomorrow, he will reach 8,000 in Test cricket, and he will be the second quickest England player to 12,000 in terms of innings to 8,000 in terms of innings batted, behind Kevin Peterson, and he'll be the third youngest from any country to reach that mark.
Right, well, he'll be sleeping on that side. It'd be interesting to ask him, actually, if he's aware of these landmarks. Michael, do you think he's aware of that? Did you say 10, Andy? I was making that right. 10 for 8,000?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to ask him if he's aware of what. Do you think he'll know? Yes or no?
He'll probably just say not. But I know we batters
Yeah.
9 actually, Aggers. He's on 7,991.
Nine short. No, he's having a tremendous career, and he's so young. He's got many more years ahead of him. You want to stamp your authority as a player. When you're the captain, you want to get those scores to lead from the front. He's openly admitted that this year is such a big year for him. As a captain of England, playing India away, India at home, New Zealand at home, and then the Ashes. It's the third time that he will have captained England in an Ashes series. He obviously got the pasting over there. Last time he drew the series in England 2-2. And he knows this is his chance, this is his moment. He's been building for this, that the Test team, up until 2019, his first 2 years in Test match cricket as a captain, let's be honest, the focus was on England in the white ball game to win that World Cup. Everything was about the white ball game, and since then, and I think that more as the focus now is to make sure that England compete in Australia in about 11 months' time. And I feel they're getting in a position. I still feel Australia will be clear favourites, but England are getting themselves in a better position by the way they played last year, the way they played in South Africa, in just giving themselves a chance of getting something in Australia. It's the right style of cricket that they're playing, which is impressive.
I must also ask him if he knows Law 33.2.2.2.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't. Mickey Arthur didn't. These things come and they bite you, don't they? I certainly know it now.
The best thing, is if you'd have been on that balcony with Mickey Arthur, it could have been the best comedy act of all time, because he was actually looking for a sidekick, wasn't he? He needed a sidekick, and there was none of those coaches, the likes of Grant Flower. Grant, I think, was like looking at Mickey going, I think you might be wrong here, Mickey.
Well, I've taken some stick, but quite right, we should know the laws, but I didn't know that one. I wonder if Joe Root did. But it was quite humorous seeing Mickey Arthur take on the umpire's room like that, but maybe like the rest of us, or those of us who are got by this one, perhaps he should have known the law first. If you weren't watching it or hearing about it, Root went for a reverse sweep, actually, got a bottom edge into the ground, then came off the glove and was caught at short leg, and those of us who weren't with it said that he was going to be caught. Mickey Arthur, rather more spectacularly than others, obviously, actually he stormed the umpire's room, threw his water bottle on the ground, and there we go. But I think a lot of us players are guilty of leaving the laws too much to the umpires sometimes.
Well, I was kind of quizzical to start with, going, wait a minute, but then as a batter, the ball's hit the ground, so how can you be out?
Yeah.
So that was me as a batsman, kind of instinctively reacting.
Bowlers, give them out.
Yeah, exactly. You and Tufnell, straight away your fingers went up. Mickey won't like me for saying this, but Mickey's been the player of the match so far for Sri Lanka. He really has. He's been the one that's been worth watching. The rest of them haven't really been worth watching, but Mickey Arthur, every time the camera's been on him, your eyes have been glued to the TV screen.
Well, they have. He cares, doesn't he?
Yes.
He's very passionate, and he always has been. And I suspect he, like me, will be going to bed with wisdom tonight to learn the laws. Now, Dan Lawrence, then, just like what I saw, I was just saying to someone here. There are some people who walk out into their first Test match with the bowlers, bats, or anything else, and they just look as if they're not phased, and they look comfortable with their new surroundings that are alien after all, and they just feel like they belong. And recently, you can think of Ben Stokes, think of Sam Curran, actually, but he also is someone who just soaks it up quite easily. Others don't. Lawrence, to me, just looked as if he was at home, regardless of whether he got 10 or the 73 that he got. I just liked his body language.
Yeah, he looks like he's confident. He looks like he knows his game. I think the nice thing for when I watch a player like Dan Lawrence, it doesn't look like he's overly coached. It looks natural. It looks like he uses his hands naturally. He's got that gift to be able to time the ball. He played a brilliant extra cover drive, but it wasn't a conventional kind of top hand lead extra cover drive. It was like a Kevin Peterson flat batted.
Yeah, like a tennis shot again.
Yeah, Josh Butler plays shots similar, and that lap slog over mid wicket, it was just a natural instinct. The ball was there, and he thought, you know what, I'm going for it. There'll be bigger challenges, but I think the first hurdle is when you first play for England in Test match cricket. Is like you say, do you look like you belong? Do you look like you've got the inner confidence in yourself to be able to play at that level? You know, to mix it with the likes of Joe Root, you stroll out there, the England captain's out there.
Yeah.
So you're under the glaring eye of the skipper straight away. He'll be studying mannerisms, character, conversation. And from what we saw, you know, he looked like he kind of belonged out there. You know, you've got to be, again, respectful. The attack of Sri Lanka's not brilliant, but Dan Lawrence wouldn't have faced the ball spinning as much as it was, you know, in county cricket. He's been on some, you know, junior tours, under 19 tours to Sri Lanka, so certainly he's played in these conditions before. That helps. But it was a really good start. 73, he'd be in that hotel room tonight. He's probably thinking, 27 more, I got my first Test match century. But if someone had said to him, you get 73 on your Test debut innings, I think he'd have taken that.
Yeah, that shot that we're talking about, just from a technical point of view, while we're waiting for Joe Root, how difficult is it to play that? Because you were the classical extra cover driver. That was your shot. If I had to imagine and remember Michael Vaughan batting, it's the classical extra cover drive with the left hand leading the high left elbow and everything else. What he did in that particular shot, and what Kevin Peterson did a lot, and others, a lot of modern cricketers do, is just bring that bottom hand through. I just wonder how difficult it is, and at what point, when you're lining up the shot that you're going to play to the ball coming down, do you adjust from the traditional, classical, orthodox way of doing it? You actually adjust to then going on to the new way, if you like, that bottom hand way.
It's the way that I would teach kids to try and play against spin. You know, towards the back end, when I played a lot of times in the subcontinent, you know, I try to get that kind of horizontal flat batted shot into my armoury. I wasn't as good as the likes of Kevin Peterson, but if you actually look at the science of it, you're hitting a ball that potentially could be spinning, you know, just by a few inches with the full face of the bat, because you're kind of getting it so flat to the ground that you're hitting the ball with the full blade. Whereas if you try and play the conventional way, you've got, how thick's a cricket bat? I guess you'll know. But it's like a few inches. It's a few inches. So you play the conventional way, you're only playing with so much width of the bat. But if you can play this new way and you kind of flat bat it, if the ball does spin either way, you've still got all this length of the bat to play with. And I think that's why you're seeing it a lot in the modern game. In T20 cricket, you see it a lot. Like the players just kind of swing it and they use that bottom hand to kind of almost play it like a tennis shot. But I do think it's kind of smothering the ball and you're giving yourself a better value because you're playing with most of the bat. It's a natural kind of ability to be able to do it. There's not everyone that can just go and play with those kind of hands and free up the hands to play that stroke. But Dan Lawrence, he's got it. You know, he's got that gift of, as I said before, he doesn't look like he's been overcoached technically. It looks like he's a player that's taught himself how to score runs, and that's pretty much what cricket's all about. It's not, you know, what does it look like? It's at that end column. Do you get a score by your name on a consistent basis? And that's pretty much what it's about.
Yeah, well, we'll hear from his dad, but I mean, there's certainly a character there. I suspect. I mean, if he's like,
his dad's best comment was when he said to you, I know he played seam. I didn't know he could play spin.
Well, he certainly can. We certainly saw that. Let's have a quick chat with Russell Arnold. We had a poor line earlier on, Russell, at tea time. Sorry about that. Over to you there in Gaul. But are you with us loud and clear? Let's check that first of all.
Hi, Agus. Hi. I think I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
I certainly can. How do you reflect on that? We'll forget there's a bit of a strange stuff at the end there with the covers coming on and off. These things happen in Test cricket. We're used to it here as well with that sort of a thing. I mean, the lead 185 with 6 wickets left. Can you see a way back for Sri Lanka at all?
It's going to be hard because it's going to come down to your attitude and approach, your mentality. And the Sri Lankan batsmen of late have not shown that application that's going to be required to fight their way through this. England still have 6 wickets in hand, so that lead's going to grow to at least 300. And with the ball turning as it is, I think it's going to be really, really hard for Sri Lanka to stay in the game and take it to the 4th or even the 5th day.
I was asking you at tea time when the line went wrong. about the change. I mean, when you think of Sri Lanka, not that long ago, but with the frontline spinners, it wasn't just the quality of those spinners, but it was the whole very hostile environment that you walked out to bat in, with wondering where your next run was going to come from, with the chatter around the bat of the close fielders. I mean, it was very, very intense, wasn't it? And that doesn't seem to be there at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of things also do come into play. The fact that there was scoreboard pressure, where Sri Lanka batted, England just didn't have that pressure when they came out to bat. So that was a bit of a drawback for the Sri Lankan bowlers. But I thought till this morning it was okay. But then that partnership between Dan Lawrence and Joe Root is where it went away. But you're right, that pressure, that intensity is not there. Even the fielders around the bat, in our day, I fielded there, and it was against for Murali and the likes of even Herat, and you felt safe.
Yes,
because the batsman could rarely play a shot, so we are in the face of the batsman. Whereas now with a loose ball here and there, the fielders are slightly on the back foot. There's a bit of self-preservation initially, so they're not in the face of the batsman. So these type of factors tend to come into play, and it's a lot easier for the visiting players.
Well, we saw poor old Kusal Mendes get a battering in there, didn't we? I mean, you're right. I mean, did you enjoy fielding in there? I mean, he seems to have a smile on his face when he does it, but I mean, poor man, he got hit all over his body today.
No, he stood up very nicely to most of those hits, but unfortunately towards the end had to go off. It is fun, and it is fun when there's a lot of things happening. The balls are popping around. Now, I remember even taking a catch here at Gaul, where against Murali, I could creep in so close and keep looking to pounce on the ball. Darryl Cullinan used to play a forward defensive shot where he squeezes the ball between bat and pad and it just drops right near his toe, and we picked that up. That's how safe we felt and how much we could attack that ball. So those things do tend to make a difference, and that also will result on how the batsman defends and starts angling his bat, or how his approach is going to be.
Yes. If look at Sri Lankan Test cricket, and I know it's only one game, Russell, so for goodness sake, don't, if I'm being judgmental, then please tell me. But if the spinners are struggling, and I accept the fact, obviously there was scoreboard pressure, the batting will be built 135, but where does Sri Lankan Test cricket go if the spinners can't create that sort of atmosphere at home?
Well, I think I will back Ambulde do that. I think he's got the goods, but he's got to learn to be a lot more patient. And I think we also need to look beyond Dilruwan Pereira. Yes, he's done really well for Sri Lanka. So we do have a few other options. Shan Sandakant, who England have seen. Chinaman bowler, bowls wrist spin. He even had a 5-wicket haul against England last time they were here. So those type of bowlers to be brought in and given the opportunity, that's the route I would like to take. But I don't see Wanindu Hasaranga as a bowler. He's a very good white ball cricketer, but I don't see him actually carrying the bowling attack forward. So Sri Lanka need to now look at new spinners and give them that continuity, so they learn their trade a bit better.
That's the last one from me. We're very happy what we saw from Dan Lawrence. I mean, just watching on, and you had a better sight of him, I think. We were talking about the way he seemed very comfortable at the crease for the first time in a Test match. Was that your view as well from there?
Yes, he was exciting. He's not afraid to push shots. He's got good sense of judging that length, which is very crucial out here. Uses the depth of the crease. These are all very good signs. But I do think he needs to sit on a little bit more. Once he got to his 40s and 50s, we did see him take a few liberties. And Joe Root, even at 160, is still being very tight and playing those tight options. He's playing a risk-free, whereas Dan Lawrence changed a little bit. So those are things as a young player he will have to pick up, because when you start, you've got to go and make it big, because you rarely will get to make a start. But we're seeing from Lawrence is very, very good. I think you've got an exciting player there.
Excellent. Well, Russell, you enjoy your evening. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. So we'll talk to you tomorrow. That's Russell Arnold, former Sri Lankan all-rounder, of course, and a member of our commentary team whenever we can persuade him to come and join us when we're either in Sri Lanka or they're over here. So nice of him to join us. We're waiting for Joe Root to come and join us as well. It's been his day, 168 not out for the England captain. And that's at England's close of play score of 320 for 4, so they lead by 185, with Dan Lawrence making 73 in his first test innings. Johnny Bairstow not adding to his overnight 47. He got a good ball, he was caught in the gully, and similarly Lawrence got one that was quite difficult to play. It bounced and hit him up on the gloves, and he was caught at short leg for 73. Joss Buttler, 7 not out. I mean, it does feel that Sri Lanka have got a long way to go, Michael Vaughan, from here, doesn't it, to get back into the game? But it's a sort of pitch, isn't it, where if you get one, you're going to get a couple, and it's Buttler and then Curran and Bess. I mean, you know, they're a long way behind, though.
Yeah,
I think we've got to assume that.
Yeah, that's the problem for Sri Lanka, because you could quite easily find on day 3, the start, that England lose 3 or 4 quick wickets, because it is that kind of pitch. We saw in the first over of the day a review that went the way of Joe Root, umpire's call, and LBW was playing the sweep shot to Pereira. I guess if that had gone Sri Lanka's way and they get Bairstow the next over, you never know. They could have got 3 or 4 inside the first 20-30 minutes and they'd have been back in the test match. They didn't do that, and England played great, and that's the problem for Sri Lanka, that whenever they get the chance to bat, even if you get a partnership, you always know as a fielding team, if you get one, there's going to be a chance you could get a second, a third and a fourth quite quickly. You've seen it, as soon as a player's got in, a Darren Lawrence, a Joe Root, a Johnny Bairstow, it's looked quite nice to bat on, but you have to give yourself that chance to get in, and that's exactly what those 3 did. There was only really Chandimal and Matthews yesterday that gave them just that glimpse of getting in on that surface, and then they gave it away. They weren't kind of prepared or willing to do the hard yards for a little bit longer. The England players have been just more disciplined, and they've applied themselves better than the Sri Lankans. Yeah,
I think it's a fair question about the spinners, though, isn't it? I mean, Sri Lanka they're so dependent on that because of the conditions in which they play, and you know, we've seen Fernando trundling up and doing what he can as a seam bowler, but I mean, there's nothing there really for him, is there? And if they can't create pressure and they can't take wickets, and I know Murali obviously they're a pretty special bowler, let's be honest, but that is Sri Lanka's cricket, and the fact that Embolinia aside, it's a problem for the captain when they're leakering runs as way they have been.
Yeah, I think the best way to describe that, Aggers, is Fernando was under-bowled. Now, the seam ball, he bowled 8 overs, he went at 2.6s. He was actually giving them control, and you never really thought about, particularly in Gaul, that you needed your seamer to be the controlling bowler. They've always had spinners that have been able to do that job. I fear for Sri Lanka because, you know, all these, you know, powerhouses of the world game, Aggers, they're sending players all over the seas. You know, A sides are being sent every single. I know we're in difficult times and it's not happening this winter, but you know, the England side generally have another team somewhere else playing. You look at the amount of players that are in the England bubble at the minute getting that opportunity to be around Test match cricket. Dan Lawrence himself was in the bubble last summer, just been around Test match cricket, not playing but getting a feel of what the Test game is. You know, Australia can do it, India can do it, England can do it with their players. The likes of Sri Lanka, you're looking at the West Indies, they just don't have the wealth behind them to be able to send another group of players to go and learn cricket. You know, you don't see many Sri Lankan A-sides arriving in England for a 2-month tour so they can get used to playing in English conditions. And going forward, it is a concern that the top 4, if you like, are going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and the lesser nations in terms of wealth are just going to get, you know, probably less opportunities, and if we're not careful, we're going to have this massive gulf between the powerhouses at the top, because they've got all the finances, and those down the bottom that don't.
Yeah, and that's for the ICC to deal with, really, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
They're making all this money from their World Cups and the T20 World Cups and everything else. So anyway, that's something else to consider, because Joe Root, you said you were going to lead from the front, and there you go. How do you feel?
I feel very good, thanks, Aggers. It's a nice position for us to be in right now, so important that we follow it through tomorrow now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a dream of a game, hasn't it, so far? We'll talk about your batting in a second, but just the match setup. Oh, that was
took
brief.
advantage yesterday.
Sorry, you're back again. You've slipped away from us, Joe.
I thought you'd binned us straight away, Joe.
I thought you didn't like my question.
No, I'm really pleased with your question. It's one of the really nice to have got the start that we have, and you know, hopefully we can really take advantage of it. As you know how important it can be to bat here statistically. So to make the lead that we have, we know it's going to speed up very quickly as the game progresses, and it's only this next couple of partnerships are going to be really crucial, and we've really got to try and get.
Well, let's go dial Joe back. That's what we're going to do, I think, because I don't
that's
think
like
that's
a game, Ag, isn't it? What's the game when you have words that are missing and you can just add your own words into to what you think he would have said?
I'm not sure what. I think it may be a couple of empty cans of beans and a length of string between us and Gaul listening to that. So we're going to try and give the England captain rather a better platform than that from which to celebrate. He's obviously in good spirits. I think he was before the game. Actually, he was talking very positively then about it. But to actually, it's not quite in the same category, I suppose, as Stuart Broad last summer, getting angry and saying I'm going to do this and going out and doing it. But it's a captain and a batsman saying I'm going to lead from the front this year. It's still a statement to make, and hey, the first innings he got 168 not out.
Yeah, I get a sense with Joe that he's been more. Obviously, he's waited a while for 100, but I think he's been very happy with the Test team and its development for a year and a half now. Because I think he's had more resource. I think the kind of selectors, the management have given more emphasis on the Test match team with the build up to the Ashes after the World Cup. Obviously, it was all about the white ball team up until then, and now it's about the Test match team. Can they go to Australia in 11 months' time and put up a real good fight to get those Ashes back? And the way the Test team has been playing now has been the right way. They've lost games, but that's fine. When you're playing the right way, you're going to come up against teams that have a better few days than you, and you accept that. But up until that process, I think we all were watching the Test match thinking, we're not too sure about this risky brand. I think you need to be a bit more conservative because you've got 5 days. You don't need to be playing the big shots all the time as a batting unit, and they've kind of developed this kind of method, and it's working really well for them. So he'll be delighted with that.
He is. Let's try again, Joe. Sorry about all of that. We're struggling to hear. I was just saying, I mean, the match situation is more than you could have possibly dreamt of, isn't it?
No, this is exactly as good as it gets, really. Having lost the toss, to be in this position right now is fantastic. But we know how quickly things can change in these conditions and in this part of the world. So it's really important that we make the most of this opportunity. We get really ruthless tomorrow morning, and the next couple of partnerships I think are really crucial to make this first innings lead count.
Yeah, like when you make a statement about leading from the front and you go out and score 168 in your first innings, I mean that must feel really good.
It does, yeah. Did a lot of talking ahead of this game, so it was really pleasing to be able to follow that through personally, and hopefully it's the start of a very successful winter and beyond. But I felt really good with my game. I felt like actually I got in a really good mindset throughout the whole innings, and I got a good balance between defence and attack. So yeah, to get runs early on in a tour, any tour, but in these conditions in particular is a nice feeling.
Yeah. Were you frustrated? I mean, because you were never out of form, really. You had starts, didn't you, last year? But it's just getting on.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately that's just how the game goes. Sometimes I felt like there was some needless dismissals last year. There's a few runouts, which I think I was more than 4 or 5 runouts last year, which you want to avoid at all costs. And played maybe 2 or 3 loose shots, and you're going to get good balls in English conditions at times. So I think more than anything, the thing that's really pleased me this week is the mindset that I got myself into, and the way that throughout I didn't waver, I didn't try and go up and down the gears at any stage. Just found a really simple way of batting in these conditions and stuck to it.
Now, I always know that the players like to give us a bit back sometimes, Joe, because we sit up here in judgment and we make big comments and so on. If I say law 33.2.2.2 to you, do you know it?
Yeah, it's when you hit the ball into the floor and then it rolls up your leg onto your glove and they catch it and play it out.
I got it wrong. I've taken so much stick, Joe.
Well, sir, rightly so. You always give me out. You always He was on the
Typical
opposition
bowler,
team,
Joe.
so.
Typical
I
bowler.
didn't want to give you out. I just got it wrong. but you knew it straight away. 33.2.2 point. It won't Mickey Arthur. He didn't know it.
No, well, thankfully that rules was on my side today.
Did you know at the time? You must have known, did you?
There was so much going on. I thought I hit it into the floor, but I wasn't sure whether it was my bat on the floor, whether it's an LB shout. So I was pretty sure I hit it into the floor, and if that was the case, then I wasn't going to be given out. So it was nice for that to fall on my side.
Yeah, of course it was. A word about Dan Lawrence. We're just saying here. I mean, he just, you were out there with him, but he just looked like he belonged. Whether he'd scored 7 or 73, it just the way that he carried himself out in the middle was very impressive.
Yeah, and that's one of probably his most impressive trait is his character. It's probably something that shone throughout his whole career to date. He's obviously got huge amounts of ability, and I'm not comparing him to Kevin Peterson, but he's got that ability where, like Kev did, of being able to do things that other players can't, play certain shots that other players can't. And it's he's really exciting to watch. But he's got a very good head on himself for a young guy at the start of his career, and he showed everyone his ability today. So hopefully it's a really good platform for him to launch from.
Right, Joe, thanks for your patience with the line. That's much appreciated, and well played.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Nice to speak to you both.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye, Joe. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Well, there we are. I mean, it's just perfect. I mean, because at the start of this year, I last thought really about Michael, and we're going to wrap things up, but to go into such a big year and to have any spotlight taken off you for form reasons or whatever, it's always easy, isn't it? People focus on a captain, and it's not just the media, but the opposition do it as well. If the captain hasn't been scoring the runs that he has, they know it's a frustration for him. It's an easy thing to just point at and niggle at and make the point, but actually to start a year like this as captain with a big score behind is a great start.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, I had many times in my captaincy reign where I wasn't playing well, and it's the worst feeling, because you know that the opponents are going to target you, rightfully so, because you're not playing as well as you can. You're scratching your head as to why. You're trying to work out why it's not happening out in the middle, because you're trying as hard as you can, and there's something not quite right in your sync, your movements, your balance. And to find that, and Joe said himself, he just found a rhythm of simplicity and batting at the highest level. When you get yourself into that position where it feels simple, it's an amazing feeling. And when you're out of nick and you're out of kind of thought, everything doesn't seem simple and everything seems rust, and you do start taking on shots that necessarily aren't in your favour. I think what Joe did today, he just worked the play into his favour. He knows his shots, he knows he plays well off the back foot, the cut shot, he works on the onside, he gets right forward to that full of length. He's concentrating to make sure he's picking up length really quickly, and when he does that, particularly against spin, he's a wonderful player at spin. I mean, I think it was yourself on commentary, or maybe Dan and Tuffers were talking about the English players against spin, Graham Thorpe, Peterson's.
Yeah.
There was some real great Graham Gooch back in it. Put Alistair Cook into that. Alistair Cook's record against spin in the subcontinent is fantastic. Joe Root's right up there. He's just a wonderful player, and a tremendous player for the non-strikers to bat with, like I said, because he's always giving you the strike, so he's always rotating the strike. Must be very difficult to bowl to, because he activates every ball. He might play a forward defence, but he plays his forward defence, and he might just work the blade, open the blade to try and get a single on the offside, or just work it on the onside. Even though you've bowled a good ball, I still think he works a way of getting a single off good bowling, and that's what you have to do against decent spinners. And the striking spinners, he'll know it's a great start, but he'll also know in a few weeks' time the Indian spinners will be a little bit more challenging.
Indeed, Michael. Andy, have you got anything else to offer down there?
Well, just to highlight Sri Lanka's struggles, just 3 maidens in the 53 overs today.
Wow.
And England will record their highest first innings lead in a test in Sri Lanka unless they lose their last 6 wickets for naught tomorrow morning. And they're set for only their 8th first innings lead of over 200 in 113 tests in Asia.
Very nice. Thank you indeed, Andy. Thanks, Michael. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. There's plenty more reaction on the BBC Sport website, the app, and of course you look out for the TMS podcast. That'll be available shortly on BBC Sounds. Listen out for Dan Lawrence's dad, Mark. That's one of the highlights of the year. With a big commentary on the second day of Australia-India. That's from 11:30 this evening on 5 Live Sports Extra. And then we'll be on air at 4:10. So we're starting earlier tomorrow. The play starting at 15 minutes earlier because of that rain time that we lost both this morning and of course towards the end of play there. So back on air at 4:10 ahead of play starting in the Gaul Test at 4:15 in the morning. Hope you can join us. England in a very strong position. They lead by 185. Let's see if Joe Root can score his double century. Till then, till the early hours of tomorrow, we'll say goodbye.